Hi, good morning. Have you heard of the various ages of English literature? I am sure you must have. You must have heard of the Elizabethan age, the Victorian period, the Renaissance, when William Shakespeare was one of the most celebrated authors. That was the Renaissance age, the Reformation period, the Romantic age, the modern period, the postmodern age, and the colonial age, the post-colonial age, so on and so forth. English literature has divided a lot of centuries, all the centuries, age-wise into various ages where various poets ruled over those ages. And now when we talk of one of the ages, for example, the Elizabethan age. The Elizabethan age was a time when Queen Elizabeth ruled over England. That was a time of prosperity, that was a time of love, that was a time of freedom, and that was a time when women actually wanted to adorn themselves to all the extremes. The only work women were supposed to do was to look beautiful, to adorn themselves, and to wait till the time a handsome young man would come and woo them and marry them and take them away. That is how women were treated, that is how they were taught, and that is how they became to be. One of the examples of those periods, very, very famous examples, is of Pride and Prejudice, an age, if you talk about the Bennet sisters, that was the age in which the Bennet sisters, five sisters who had to get married, the mother was only concerned about their wedding, they were only concerned about their marriage, and that was in that time that one of the sisters understood that the value of beauty is not so much, brains are also important. Anyhow, I am not discussing the Elizabethan age in detail. I am giving you the outline of this age because our next chapter that we're just going to do, The Diamond Necklace, has been written by the author named Guy de Maupassant. Guy de Maupassant is a French author who was one of the most loved French authors. He is loved for his work, simplicity, for bringing about little simple truths of people's life, for bringing about little complexities of human emotions, and for bringing to the people all those vices that generally most of the people suffer with. In his story, The Diamond Necklace, Guy de Maupassant focuses on the life of a lady. The name of the lady is Mathilde. Mathilde was one of those ladies who was born by chance, by ill fate, into a poor man's family, into a family of clerks. And otherwise, she was one of those women who otherwise, had she been born in a rich family, had she been born in a family of well-offs, of rich people, she would have been one of the most prettiest looking women around. She wanted to look beautiful, but she had no jewelry. She wanted to be wooed, but she had no suitors. She wanted to live a life of luxury, but she had no money. She wanted servants, but she could not afford them. She always lived in a dream world of her own, in which she always wanted to look nice, to feel wanted, and one of the reasons why she felt like that was, it was the impact of the age that was upon her. As I just discussed, the Elizabethan period, where the women were only obsessed with the looks, with looking nice, and with getting married to a rich man. That was a time where it was, that was the coffee table culture as well, the ballroom culture as well. All day long, women used to wait, used to adorn themselves, used to make look beautiful, and then they used to wait for the evening to come, where young men and suitors used to come and enjoy a ballroom dance with them. And that was a time of socializing, that was a time of gatherings, and that was a time where women, beautiful women, felt good about themselves, and the men, they had an opportunity of wooing so many women whomsoever they wanted to woo a woman of his own choice. Now, when we talk of Mathilde, coming back to Mathilde now, she was a lady who was one of those women who by ill fate was born into a family of poor people, as I have just discussed. But had it been any other lady of her age, of her stature, who would have been married to a person, the name of the person is Loisel. Loisel worked in the Ministry of Education. Now, Miss Loisel, as his name is, had there been any other lady apart from Mathilde, who would have been married to Mr. Loisel, the lady would never have felt sad, because Loisel was a loving husband, was a good man, was a hard-working man, and he could afford the simplicities of life, if not luxuries. And they were not poor in terms of finances. You can say that they belong to the middle class maybe, but they were definitely not poor. But Mathilde, for her, this was not enough. Her desires were endless. Her feelings, her dreams were endless, and she always lived in a fantasy world. She hated her house when she saw the paint coming out from various walls in her house. She hated it when she saw the tapestry that had been torn at various places. She did not like when she used to sit at the dining table. She used to dream of people around her who were willing to serve her food. When she used to sit alone in the house, she used to dream of the maid servants who would be there around her and treat her like the princess. She loved her beauty, but at the end of the day, she used to get sad for the lack of money, for the lack of good clothing, for the lack of good jewelry. And that was the time where she should have actually valued whatever little she had in life. She had a loving husband, she had a good family, and she was living a decent life sitting at home. She still had a maidservant, if not many. She had at least one maidservant for her help all the time. Now, in this process, the way she was leading her life, it happened one fine day that she was sitting at the dining table and Mr. Loisel came back home. When Mr. Loisel came back home, he lifted the cover of the tureen and exclaimed with great delight, "Ah, what a soup!" And she was again in her fantasy world, and very irritatingly she replied to the husband, "That's all that I know how to cook." And she was again not happy about it. So Mr. Loisel tried to make her happy. He had a pass of a ball, and he kept that pass on the table, trying to tell her that this is the pass of a ballroom dance that I have procured with great difficulty, and this comes through the Ministry of Education. Now, because he was a clerk working in that ministry, it must have been difficult for him to procure that, but he somehow managed it for the sake of the wife. The wife looked at the pass. She was extremely delighted, because an opportunity, an invitation like a ballroom dance was a big invitation and a big day in her life. But all of a sudden, her joys turned into sorrow. And what was the reason behind it? The reason behind it was that she realized that she did not have clothes good enough to be worn for the ball. And that is what made her sad. She said, "Take this pass and give it to somebody else who has better clothes, who can wear better clothes and go for the ball. I do not have a good gown. I do not have good clothes that I can wear, and I cannot make a mockery of myself." And she was again sitting sadly, weeping, sitting on the table. Mr. Loisel suddenly understood and suddenly realized that there was some money that he had kept with himself. He was a lover of hunting. He was a hunter lover, and he had accumulated, he had saved some money for the sake of his rifle, for the sake of his gun, because he was very fond of shooting. And there were around 400 francs that he had collected with great difficulty. And he wanted to buy a rifle for himself, but seeing the wife in tears, seeing the wife sitting sadly for the sake of his love, he gave those 400 francs to the lady, and the lady was delighted. She was so happy. She was on top of the world, and those 400 francs were good enough for her to go and buy a good dress for herself, a good evening gown for herself. She took the money, she bought a wonderful gown that suited her so well, because she was so beautiful. She looked very nice in that outfit. The day she came back home, and when she was trying that gown, there was something else that again made her sad. And this time, it was the lack of matching jewelry. Although she had good clothes, but she did not have matching jewelry. And this was another reason for her sadness. This time, Mr. Loisel could not really help her with the fact, because he did not have any money. He was not left with any money to give to the lady. The lady, again, was very sad, and she didn't know how to, what to say to her husband, and she didn't know how to react or where to get the matching jewelry. Once again, the husband came to the rescue, and all of a sudden, it struck him that he should ask his wife to go to a friend whose name was Mrs. Forrester. Mrs. Forrester to go and borrow a particular necklace from Mrs. Forrester. Now, Mrs. Forrester was one of Mathilde's friend. The idea clicked her. She went up to the friend and she asked her to lend her a piece of matching jewelry with her gown. Mrs. Forrester willingly lent her a necklace, the necklace as beautiful as one could imagine, the necklace that complemented the dress so well, the necklace that made the lady look so beautiful. And that necklace was the diamond necklace. The big day arrived. The day of the party arrived. Mr. Loisel and Mathilde, they left for the ball. They enjoyed all night. Mathilde was making every lady feel envious in the room. Every man desired a lady like her. She looked so beautiful. She carried herself so well. All night long she enjoyed her dancing. She enjoyed her ballroom dance. Mr. Loisel was always behind her, enjoyed with her, and eventually when he got tired of dancing, he seated himself and was looking at the wife and wanted her to enjoy and be happy. After the ball finished, Mr. Loisel gave her the shrug that she was supposed to wear that would save her from the cold, and they hired a cab and reached back home. Now, as ladies are, they generally want to come back home and see themselves in the mirror after they have been complimented in a party or in an outing. So she did the same. She reached home, looked herself in the mirror and was proud of her in some way, was proud of herself, and she actually loved the fact that everybody felt that she was so beautiful, and the inner feeling of beauty, it came in her mind once again. And it was at that particular point of time when she saw that the necklace that she was wearing was missing. To her surprise, the necklace could not be found in the house. Mr. Loisel was perturbed. He hired a taxi, went back again, checked all the streets, checked the cab number had been missed by the lady, so they could not capture the cab. But then he checked all the streets. He went back to the ballroom room. He searched everywhere, but the necklace was nowhere to be found. The next morning, he came back home, tired, sad, exhausted, and very, very tensed. And the lady was equally tensed. And that was a turning point in their lives, because they did not know what to do. Eventually, an idea clicked them that they should go in the market and inquire about the price of that particular necklace. So both of them, they left, and they finally managed to go to a jeweler's shop, and they saw a similar and identical, a replica of the necklace that the lady had been wearing the previous night. And once they saw that, to their surprise, the price of that necklace was 40,000 francs, which was a huge sum, and they could never have bought that necklace. And after a lot of bargaining, the jeweler agreed to give them the necklace for 34,000 francs, which was not affordable, but yet they had no option. Now that necklace changed their life that was lived in a decent manner up till now, returned into poverty, into extreme poverty. The maidservant was thrown out. The lady had to do all the work by herself. The man earned, they shifted their apartment. They did not have enough money. The lady started turning old, and the only job that was left with her was to fight with the grocer, or to fight with people for one little penny that she could save. And she was in a very pathetic state. It once happened that after 10 years passed in a life of poverty. After 10 years, she saw, once she was buying grocery in a shop, and she saw a lady with a little child standing there. The name of the lady was Mrs. Forrester. She wanted to go up to her, and she wanted to tell her once that, see, my condition like this is because of you. Not really because of you, but it was somehow related to you. She walked up to the lady, but Mrs. Forrester did not recognize her, because Mathilde, the beautiful Mathilde, had turned into an old, haggard woman. She had turned into a lady with grey hair. Her hands had become coarse because of the work that she had been doing, and she did not look beautiful. She looked old. She had wrinkles on her face, and she was hardly to be recognized. She reintroduced herself to her friend, and she reminded her of the day when she had taken the golden necklace. And she said that, I had taken the diamond necklace from you, but I could not return it, so I bought one and gave one to you, and it is because of that we are repaying the debt till now. And the answer that came from Mrs. Forrester, please concentrate, is a funny one. Mrs. Forrester said that that necklace was not a real diamond necklace. It was an artificial necklace. And that is the point when the story ends. Well, interesting story. Yes, it is. The moral of the story is, have desires, but don't have them beyond your reach. Even if you have desires, it's good to dream, but it is not good to sit back and keep dream and do nothing about it. Mathilde was a lady who dreamt very highly, but she was not making an effort towards it. Second moral is, greed, too much of greed is not good in life. She wanted everything in life, but the value that she should have given to relationships, the value that she should have given to her present condition of life, that was much better than others. She did not value it. She realized it, perhaps she never realized it, and that was the reason why she was unhappy. So we should learn to value the things that we have, and if we have dreams, we must start working towards them. That's it.